Today, I'm going to show you how a wildly popular doctor-recommended healthy snack completely destroyed a man's kidneys without warning. Most people do the right thing in the wrong sequence when trying to eat for their heart, and I will show you the strongest way to protect your organs after you understand the setup. The reality is that many older adults are slowly damaging their filtration system while genuinely believing they are consuming a perfect healing diet. I remember a man named Thomas, who was 71 years old, coming to me with a deep, unexplained fatigue and a constant heaviness in his lower back that he assumed was simply arthritis. He had been eating a specific daily superfood to improve his heart health, completely unaware that this very snack was causing profound distress to his kidneys and throwing his blood pressure into a dangerous zone. I have seen this precise scenario unfold time and time again, and your doctor might have been giving you standard dietary advice that is entirely wrong and potentially harmful for your specific medication profile. 1. The absolute first step is deeply understanding how the highly concentrated potassium found in supposedly healthy dried fruits creates a toxic, overwhelming buildup when it is combined with very specific daily blood pressure medications. By identifying this invisible chemical clash happening inside your digestive system, you immediately prevent the silent destruction of your kidneys' microscopic filtering units and keep your daily blood pressure readings remarkably stable without unnecessary organ stress. Richard was 68 years old and decided to strictly control his heart health by eating large, daily bowls of dried apricots and raisins. Having read they were an excellent natural superfood for aging adults, he started feeling incredibly weak, constantly dizzy, and noticed a strange, irregular fluttering in his chest, not realizing his specific blood pressure pill actively prevented his kidneys from flushing out this massive influx of daily potassium. Once he learned to entirely separate his heart medication from these heavily concentrated dried fruits, his energy beautifully returned, his heart rhythm smoothed out completely, and his kidney function tests immediately improved to a very safe, normal level. The human kidney is a magnificent, highly sensitive filtration engine that constantly works to perfectly balance the essential minerals in your blood, specifically managing the delicate ratio of sodium and potassium to keep your heart beating steadily. However, many older adults are prescribed a specific class of blood pressure medications, often known as angiotensin receptor blockers, which actively hold onto potassium inside the body while they do the daily work of relaxing the blood vessels. When you sit down in the afternoon and eat a handful of dried fruit, you are consuming a massively concentrated dose of potassium because all the natural water has been entirely removed from the fruit, leaving only dense sugars and heavy minerals. The aging kidneys, already slightly slowed by the natural passing of time and now biochemically restricted by the daily blood pressure medication, simply cannot process and eliminate this sudden, heavy mineral flood. A recent study closely examining the daily dietary habits of older adults taking these specific hypertension drugs revealed that those who regularly consumed heavily dried fruits experienced a significant measurable decline in their kidney filtration rates over just a 12-month period. To safely manage your daily fruit intake without placing this massive, invisible burden on your organs, you must completely swap out all concentrated dried fruits for their fresh, water-rich, fully hydrated counterparts in your daily diet. Instead of buying large bags of dried apricots or densely packed raisins, you should intentionally choose fresh, crisp apples, plump blueberries, or fresh slices of melon, which contain a much safer, vastly diluted amount of potassium spread throughout a large volume of natural water. When you eat fresh fruit, the natural water content forces your digestive system to process the minerals very slowly, giving your kidneys plenty of time to gently filter the blood and easily maintain the perfect internal balance without ever becoming overwhelmed or stressed by a sudden chemical spike. If you absolutely must have something sweet in the afternoon, make it a strict, unwavering habit to only reach for fruits that would naturally drip juice if you cut them open on your kitchen counter, entirely avoiding anything that is shriveled, dehydrated, or chewy. 2. The second essential action is actively avoiding the massive, invisible sodium spikes hidden inside store-bought, heavily processed vegetable juice blends that are aggressively marketed to seniors as the perfect daily health beverage. Stopping this daily influx of liquid salt entirely prevents the sudden, high-pressure surges that physically batter the delicate inner walls of your kidneys, preserving your organ health and keeping your circulatory system remarkably calm. Barbara was 73 years old and decided to completely replace her traditional afternoon tea with a commercial vegetable smoothie, genuinely thinking it was pure health in a bottle that would lower her blood pressure. Her daily numbers unexpectedly skyrocketed to dangerous levels, and her kidneys began to struggle deeply under the intense, hidden sodium load that she was unknowingly drinking every single afternoon. She finally learned to read the complicated back labels, switched entirely to drinking pure water or making her own fresh juices, and her blood pressure beautifully stabilized, while the heavy, uncomfortable swelling in her lower legs completely disappeared. When you consume sodium in a completely liquid form, such as a commercially preserved vegetable drink, it entirely bypasses the normal, slow digestive breakdown process and enters your bloodstream almost instantly, causing a rapid physical reaction. This massive rush of liquid salt acts exactly like a powerful magnet pulling surrounding water directly into your blood vessels, which rapidly increases your total blood volume and forces your heart to pump much harder just to move the fluid along. Your kidneys are suddenly forced to deal with this high-pressure, heavily salted flood, meaning they must work at maximum capacity to filter out the chemical preservatives and excess sodium, which deeply exhausts the microscopic filtering units over time. These commercial juices are heavily reliant on sodium-based preservatives to maintain their bright colors and prevent them from spoiling on the grocery store shelves for months at a time, making them one of the most deceptive dietary traps for anyone managing hypertension. To completely bypass this chemical burden on your kidneys, you must build a new, highly protective habit of either making your vegetable juices entirely from scratch at home or simply eating whole, fresh vegetables in their natural, unaltered state. If you truly enjoy the taste of a cold vegetable drink in the afternoon, invest in a simple home blender and blend fresh celery, cucumbers, and a small handful of spinach with pure filtered water and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. This homemade method guarantees that zero artificial sodium or harsh chemical preservatives enter your bloodstream, completely eliminating the violent blood pressure spikes and giving your kidneys exactly what they need to function peacefully. By consuming the whole vegetable or blending it yourself, you also retain all the natural, protective fiber, which slows down the entire digestive process and creates a gentle, steady release of nutrients rather than a violent high-pressure shock to your internal organs. 3. The third absolutely critical step is mastering the exact, precise method of accurate home blood pressure measurement to detect silent kidney stress before it ever becomes permanent, irreversible physical damage. Learning this incredibly precise home routine prevents your doctor from mistakenly increasing your daily medication dosage based on false numbers, which would otherwise force your kidneys to constantly process a heavy, unneeded chemical load. William was 69 years old and always took his daily blood pressure reading while slouching in his favorite recliner and talking to his wife about their upcoming weekend plans. His consistently falsely high numbers led his doctor to write a much heavier, stronger prescription that deeply drained his kidney function, leaving him feeling constantly exhausted and physically depleted throughout the day. He finally learned the strict, silent posture required for accurate home testing, his true, much lower numbers were accurately revealed, and his doctor safely reduced his medication, allowing his kidneys to fully recover their strength. Recent clinical studies specifically examining the daily home monitoring habits of older adults have clearly revealed that a vast majority of patients over 60 routinely make slight mechanical errors during testing that artificially inflate their top number by 10 to 15 points. When you sit down to measure your pressure, your body requires a full 5 minutes of absolute, uninterrupted silence and rest to allow your blood vessels to return to their true baseline state after walking, talking, or doing simple household chores. If you apply the restrictive cuff and press the start button while your nervous system is still actively managing the physical demands of standing or moving, the machine will capture a falsely elevated pressure reading that does not represent your resting state at all. Your doctor relies entirely on the numbers you write down in your logbook, meaning any slight mechanical error you make at home directly translates into how aggressively they will medicate your kidneys during your next office visit. To guarantee perfect accuracy every single time, you must sit in a firm, supportive chair that fully braces your back, keeping both feet completely flat on the floor with your legs uncrossed, as crossing your legs tightly squeezes major blood vessels and artificially drives up the internal pressure. Your arm must be comfortably supported on a sturdy table at exactly heart level, and you must wrap the cuff securely around your bare upper arm, ensuring the cuff is the absolute correct size for your specific arm circumference. You must strictly avoid talking, watching exciting television, or scrolling on your phone during the 5 minutes of resting, or during the minute the machine is actively taking the measurement, remaining completely silent and still. Always take 2 separate readings spaced exactly 1 minute apart, completely ignoring the first number and only recording the second reading in your logbook, as the first reading is almost always slightly higher simply due to the physical anticipation of the machine squeezing your arm. 4. The fourth vital action is implementing a same-day lever involving a simple, incredibly calming 5-minute breathing technique and a small glass of water immediately after eating any afternoon snack to naturally ease your digestion and blood flow. This specific post-snack routine gently lowers the immediate physical pressure on your blood vessels precisely as your body begins the heavy work of processing food, naturally protecting your kidney filters from digestive stress. Nancy was 66 years old and always felt a strange rush of heavy pressure and a very mild, persistent headache about 20 minutes after eating her seemingly healthy afternoon snacks. She simply assumed this was a normal part of getting older until she started a dedicated post-snack breathing and hydration habit that completely smoothed out her daily numbers and eliminated her afternoon headaches. She discovered that by intentionally relaxing her body after eating, her blood pressure remained beautifully stable and her digestion felt remarkably light, giving her far more energy for the rest of her evening activities. Whenever you consume food, your body must immediately divert a massive amount of blood flow directly toward your stomach and intestines to begin the intense, highly demanding mechanical process of breaking down the nutrients. This sudden, heavy diversion of blood naturally causes your heart to pump slightly harder and your blood pressure to rise temporarily, which can place a brief but highly repetitive strain on your kidneys if your vessels are already stiff or restricted. By intentionally signaling your autonomic nervous system to completely relax through deep, rhythmic breathing immediately after finishing your food, you forcefully widen your blood vessels and entirely neutralize the physical stress of digestion. Drinking a small, measured glass of room temperature water alongside this breathing routine provides your stomach with the exact amount of fluid it needs to process the food smoothly, meaning your kidneys do not have to frantically pull hydration from other parts of your body. To perform this calming routine correctly, immediately after finishing your snack, find a quiet, comfortable chair away from any loud distractions. Sit with your feet entirely flat on the floor and rest your hands gently in your lap. Slowly inhale deeply through your nose while silently counting to 4, deliberately focusing entirely on making your stomach gently push outward rather than lifting your chest, which ensures you are drawing the calming air deeply into the absolute lowest parts of your lungs. Once you have reached the slow count of 4, purse your lips slightly as if you are preparing to blow out a candle, and exhale extremely slowly and smoothly while silently counting to 6, feeling your body sink heavily into the chair. Repeat this slow, steady cycle of 4-count inhalations and 6-count exhalations for exactly 5 minutes, and then slowly sip a small 4-ounce glass of pure water before standing up and returning to your daily activities. Most older adults can try this safely without any specialized equipment, and it serves as a wonderful, highly calming anchor for the middle of your daily routine, completely breaking the cycle of physical tension that so often builds up during the afternoon. One more easy change is to close your eyes while performing this counting routine, entirely removing any visual stimulation that might cause your brain to remain perfectly alert and mildly stressed. If you ever feel slightly lightheaded while doing this deep breathing, simply stop the counting immediately. Breathe completely normally for a few minutes until the feeling entirely passes, and try a slightly shorter count the next time you practice. This gives your digestive system and kidneys a peaceful environment to do their work. 5. The fifth essential action you must take is actively identifying and completely eliminating the highly deceptive diet snack issue that involves consuming supposedly healthy, low-sodium products heavily reliant on chemical salt substitutes. By carefully removing these artificially flavored products from your daily pantry, you actively protect your delicate heart rhythm and prevent your aging kidney function from suffering a sudden, highly dangerous mineral overload that often goes completely unnoticed until significant damage has occurred. Charles was 70 years old and desperately wanted to improve his daily numbers, so he bought several large bags of special low-sodium pretzels to enjoy during his evening television programs, completely unaware they were heavily coated in a chemical salt substitute. His kidneys, which were already highly sensitive from his daily blood pressure medication, simply could not process this massive artificial chemical alternative, and he quickly developed severe muscle cramping and a highly irregular, rapid heartbeat that required medical attention. He finally learned how to read the complex ingredient labels, entirely stopped eating these chemically altered snacks, and his dangerous symptoms completely resolved within just a few days as his body naturally cleared the mineral buildup. The highly problematic issue with these specific diet snacks is that manufacturers intentionally replace the natural, traditional sodium with a chemical compound called potassium chloride, which perfectly triggers the human taste buds into registering a deeply satisfying, salty flavor without using actual salt. While reducing traditional sodium is generally an excellent choice for lowering the physical pressure inside your blood vessels, introducing an aging, medicated body to massive amounts of potassium chloride places a vastly heavier, far more dangerous workload on the microscopic kidney filters. The human kidney is naturally designed to handle very slow, steady intakes of minerals from whole, unprocessed foods, but it becomes quickly overwhelmed and chemically unbalanced when forced to filter these highly concentrated manufactured chemical substitutes that suddenly enter the bloodstream. This artificial overload directly interferes with the electrical signaling system of your heart, creating a silent internal physical crisis that directly clashes with the very blood pressure medications designed to keep your cardiovascular system perfectly stable and protected. To safely navigate this complicated grocery store issue, you must build a strict, highly deliberate habit of turning around every single box or bag of low-sodium or heart-healthy snacks you consider buying to meticulously read the tiny ingredient label printed on the back. You must scan the entire list specifically looking for the exact words potassium chloride, and if you see that chemical listed anywhere on the package, you must immediately put the item back on the shelf, regardless of how healthy the front of the box claims to be. 6. The next absolutely critical step involves strictly moderating the highly common daily use of heavily processed protein bars and densely packaged protein shakes that are aggressively marketed directly to seniors as essential for maintaining daily muscle health and physical independence. By carefully stepping back from this massive artificial protein overload, you completely prevent your fragile kidneys from having to hyperfilter thick, synthetic protein waste from your bloodstream, significantly preserving their delicate internal structure for many years to come. Patricia was 72 years old and became deeply worried about losing her physical strength as she aged, so she started drinking 2 thick, heavily fortified commercial protein shakes every single day alongside her normal daily meals to ensure she stayed entirely strong and active. This massive, unnatural protein load forcefully pushed her kidneys into absolute overdrive, drastically raising her internal blood pressure until she finally switched entirely to lighter, natural protein sources, allowing her body to gracefully recover its perfect balance without losing any of her vital physical strength. The physiological reality is that processing massive amounts of isolated, heavily manufactured protein requires an incredibly high amount of internal blood pressure inside the kidney itself to forcefully push the dense, heavy waste products through the microscopic, delicate cellular filters. When you consume a manufactured protein shake or a dense protein bar, you are introducing your bloodstream to a heavily concentrated, unnaturally dense load of amino acids that the aging kidney was simply never designed to process all at once in such a short amount of time. This constant daily high-pressure filtration process causes significant long-term wear and tear on the organ tissue, physically scarring the tiny filters and slowly reducing their ability to clean your blood, which indirectly causes your systemic blood pressure to rise higher and higher as the years go by. Many older adults firmly believe they are doing the absolutely right thing for their bodies by consuming these supplements, completely missing the fact that their daily blood pressure medications are actively fighting against the internal pressure created by this massive dietary protein burden. To properly protect your organs while still entirely maintaining your valuable physical muscle mass, you must intentionally choose to consume small, highly manageable portions of natural, whole food protein spread evenly throughout your daily meals, rather than relying on dense, artificially manufactured supplement bars. You can easily achieve your daily needs by incorporating a single soft-boiled egg with your morning breakfast, adding a small piece of baked chicken or fresh fish to your afternoon lunch, and enjoying a serving of natural Greek yogurt or a small handful of unsalted walnuts in the late evening. When you consume protein in its natural whole food state, it is bound tightly together with natural water, essential fats, and slow-digesting fibers, which forces your digestive system to process the heavy nutrients very slowly, giving your kidneys plenty of time to gently filter the resulting waste. One more easy change is to completely eliminate any protein powder supplements from your pantry, instantly removing the temptation to artificially boost your meals and ensuring your body only ever has to manage a natural, highly gentle digestive workload. This allows your body to build strength without sacrificing your internal organs. 7. The seventh essential action relies on a highly powerful longer-term lever, which involves establishing a strict, intensely calming evening routine to absolutely guarantee deep, uninterrupted sleep, as this is the exact physiological window when your kidneys fundamentally repair themselves from daily wear and tear. By creating this highly specific, restful environment, you give your systemic blood pressure a guaranteed chance to naturally dip overnight, providing essential, deep physical rest for your entire internal filtration system and allowing your medications to work properly. Robert was 67 years old and regularly stayed up quite late every single night watching bright, loud television programs while eating heavily salted, processed snacks, sitting in his favorite living room recliner. Because of this high-stimulation routine, his blood pressure never properly dropped at night, leaving his kidneys completely exhausted and unable to heal, until he finally prioritized a strict, dark sleep hygiene routine that beautifully lowered his daily numbers and dramatically improved his daytime energy levels. The mechanical relationship between deep, uninterrupted sleep, the natural nighttime blood pressure drop, and vital kidney cellular repair is one of the most thoroughly documented physiological processes in the human body, specifically regarding how aging adults manage their cardiovascular health. When you enter the deepest phases of rest, your autonomic nervous system actively signals your blood vessels to fully dilate and relax, which significantly drops the pressure of the blood flowing into the kidneys and gives the microscopic filters a desperately needed break from high-pressure operation. If you artificially interrupt this vital resting phase with bright screens, loud noises, or heavy late-night digestion, your brain assumes you are still awake and active, entirely preventing this crucial pressure drop and forcing your kidneys to continue working at maximum daytime capacity throughout the entire night. Please comment below and tell me how many hours of sleep you usually get each night so we can understand the average resting patterns of our highly dedicated viewing community and share helpful tips with one another. To successfully build this highly protective nighttime routine, you must start by firmly turning off all bright screens, including televisions, tablets, and mobile phones, at least 1 full hour before you actually intend to close your eyes and go to sleep in your bed. You should physically lower the temperature of your bedroom to a cool, highly comfortable level, as a slightly cooler environment naturally signals your core body temperature to drop, which deeply promotes the immediate onset of heavy restorative sleep that your organs desperately require to heal. You must also strictly avoid eating any heavy, hard-to-digest snacks or consuming large volumes of liquid right before bed, as active digestion forces blood pressure to remain elevated, and full bladders inevitably cause highly disruptive, middle-of-the-night bathroom trips that completely interrupt your essential sleep cycles. Most older adults can try this safely by simply reading a physical, paper book under a warm, dim lamp for 30 minutes before turning out the lights, which perfectly prepares the mind and the cardiovascular system for absolute rest. This creates the perfect nighttime environment for total physical healing. 8. The final critical step is another deeply effective longer-term lever that involves deliberately incorporating a highly light, totally unforced 10-minute walk immediately after you finish eating the absolute last meal of your day to beautifully optimize your evening renal blood flow. This highly gentle, highly deliberate physical movement uses the large muscles in your legs to physically help pump resting blood back up to your heart, entirely taking the heavy mechanical strain off your delicate kidneys and completely relaxing your daily blood vessels before you go to sleep. Susan was 65 years old and constantly noticed that her home blood pressure readings were always at their absolute highest in the late evening, making her feel incredibly anxious and totally unable to relax before getting into her bed for the night. She started taking a very gentle, highly calming 10-minute stroll around her living room and kitchen immediately after finishing her dinner, which beautifully and naturally lowered her evening numbers, entirely eliminating her anxiety and allowing her to sleep deeply and peacefully. The profound physiological benefit of this highly specific evening routine is found entirely in how light, unforced movement naturally signals the smooth muscles surrounding your blood vessels to gently dilate and open, completely preventing the physical evening stiffness that so often drives up nighttime pressure. When you sit completely still immediately after eating a large meal, the blood physically settles in your digestive tract and your lower extremities, forcing your heart to pump much harder to return that heavy fluid back up through the filtering systems of your kidneys. By simply walking at a very slow, comfortable pace, you physically activate the deep calf muscles in your legs, which function as an additional manual pump, manually squeezing the heavy veins and pushing the resting blood upward with entirely zero stress on your cardiovascular system. To properly implement this highly protective evening habit, you do not need to put on heavy exercise clothing, step outside into the dark, or physically push yourself to the point of sweating or breathing heavily in any way at all. You simply need to spend exactly 10 minutes gently pacing the continuous rooms of your house, perhaps slowly walking down the hallway, circling the kitchen island, or doing incredibly gentle, slow arm stretches while listening to highly calming, quiet instrumental music. You can do this safely at home, entirely sheltered from bad weather or uneven sidewalks, simply focusing on keeping your body slowly moving in a highly relaxed, deliberate rhythm while your stomach easily begins the initial stages of digesting your final meal. If you have any significant mobility issues or rely on a walker, you can completely modify this habit by simply sitting on the edge of your firm chair and gently marching your feet in place for 5 minutes, which provides the exact same brilliant circulatory benefits. This simple habit acts as a natural pressure release valve for your entire body. If you know someone over 50 who could benefit from this, share this video and subscribe for more simple blood pressure tips.